today's episode, we have episode 4 and our final episode of our team-by-team fantasy football previews, where we go division by division to find each team's most relevant fantasy storylines. And shifting gears here to the AFC West. Aidan, I love this. Who let you cook? It certainly wasn't Russ. That was a terrible one. But Aidan has the AFC West and the Denver Broncos. Tell us what the Broncos have cooking up in 2023. That was better.
What are the Broncos cooking? What's in the kitchen in Denver, Colorado?
What is in the spice rack? What do you have? Is that cumin?
Has Russ rizzed
Is that a
up?
little Judy? Tell us about.
There's really only one person I want to talk about with the Denver Broncos, but I have to earn it. All right, I don't get to speak about him right away, so I have to earn it. We'll get there towards the end of my recap here. So, obviously, what you have to start with is, does Sean Payton save Mr. Unlimited? That's the big question. That's what we're all dying to know. What Nathaniel Hackett did last year, should be death sentence, gone straight to prison. It was such a bad offense. Russell Wilson was unrecognizable in that offense. It was just poor game. Everything looked so bad. No rhythm, no strategic real actions with any of the decisions he made. So the biggest question, obviously, Sean Payton has an awesome track record given he worked with Drew Brees for most of his career. So, take it with a grain of salt. But his offenses have typically been in the upper half and very productive offenses. So I don't think it's out of the ordinary or out of the question to say that Russell Wilson returns to about QB 10, maybe even breaks into that. There's really good pieces around him. I don't want to get too into the pass catches because, again, I think this is something we've already gone into. The Jerry Jeudy breakout is coming. You've got Courtland Sutton, who I think is better than people think, but we're all kind of just tired of him waiting to be the Courtland Sutton that we think he is. And then you've got a couple of other really fun pieces there. Going into running back, I think I'm on the contrary here. I was on the contrary last offseason too, and I'm fading Javonte Williams. That knee injury was gnarly. It's, we already talked about Breece Hall in our last episode. This was a much more significant knee injury in terms of the ligaments that were damaged, and I'm really not buying it. Not to mention, I think Samaje Perine is more than capable of being a 3-down running back. I've said it time and time again. They didn't pay him quite like one, but paying $3.5 million a year to a running back in today's NFL, that's no cheap deal. So I think they believe in him. They publicly endorsed him, especially to start the year as Javonte works back up. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is, near a 50-50 split once Javonte gets ramped up. And lastly, now that I've eaten my vegetables, I get to get the dessert of the Denver Broncos, which is Greg Dulcich, baby. Greg Dulcich, who I could not be more excited about. Sean Payton has already labeled Greg as the Joker of their offense, which essentially just means mismatch nightmare. Players that he has called this in the past have been Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles, Alvin Kamara, just to name a few, and has awesome track record developing tight ends. Shockey, Graham, bit of Witten. I think the sky's the limit for Greg Dulcich. We already saw spurts of what could be an awesome tight end last year in what was an abysmal Denver Broncos offense. So I'm buying Greg Dulcich. I think he's going to have an awesome season in that offense. And again, could be a top 6, top 8 tight end potentially.
You had me at Greg. I can't believe I had to wait for that, but I appreciate you going through the meat and potatoes before giving us the sweet dessert that is the man that is Thor. Keegan Thompson, you have the Los Angeles Chargers. Tell us a little bit about this revamped Chargers offense underneath Kellen Moore.
Man, we're picking apart these teams and finding one or two relevant fantasy players we like. I want every single part of this Chargers offense. I want it all. I want the whole damn pie. Give me Herbert, give me Big Mike, give me Keegan, give me Eckler, give me QJ, I might draft the whole Chargers fantasy team this year. Say fuck it. Kellen Moore's in town, baby, and they're letting it fly. Joe Lombardi and his archaic dink and dunk Stone Age offense is out the door. Herbert's ribs are back. He's fully loaded. Left tackle Rashawn Slater's back and ready to take hold of that offensive line and make sure Herbert doesn't get touched. Last year, Herbert, we're talking about one of the guys with the freakiest arms I've ever seen in my life, had the 4th lowest ADOT, average depth of target, 6.4, yards among 40 qualified passers. Let me say that again. An ADOT of 6.4, the fourth lowest among 40 qualified passers for one of the most alien-like rocket arms I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. We were talking about injuries earlier. I've already talked about Brees. I've talked about Rashad Bateman. Fuck it. My flag plant for the Chargers is Mike Williams this year. And look, you can talk all you want about the injuries, but if there's one player who's going to benefit from Kellen Moore's offensive scheme, it's Mike Williams. His play style fits what they want to do the most. I think Keenan Allen is a great receiver, and he's like a possession receiver, but his targets are like tend to be very low value most of the time. Like, sure, he'll finish with 7 and 84, but like, what does that mean if he's not scoring touchdowns? Like, he's possession, move the chains. I love that. Mike Williams is going to go up and get the fucking ball this year. That dude is going to be back in a big way. And then on top of that, I'll take Quinn Johnston as my favorite rookie to target this year. He has like mid-season rookie bump, like written all over him. He's just got tags all over him that says, buy me, buy me, buy me, great value, buy me. Averaged 8.9 yards after catch per reception at TCU in 2022, second most in NCAA. He's going to get matched up with the most insane cannon of an arm and that beautiful human Herbert. I just cannot wait to watch the passing attack. And you know what? Eckler, all the Eckler truthers, you're going to have your expectations tampered, but you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. Because even though the dink and dunk conservative approach is gone, like last year he caught 120 balls, and it won't happen again. I still think he's a top 5, 116 targets. Yeah, I still think he's a top 5 fantasy running back this year. There's no true competition threatening his role. Like Isaiah Spiller, I love you, but it's just not happening. Like everybody that's on this team that starts and plays the majority of the year is going to be so fantasy relevant. I'm just like oozing thinking about it. And that's my spiel.
That's your spiel. Oozing, excited. These are some of the words that Keegan Thompson used to describe the Los Angeles Chargers. I love it. Going with the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of boring because it's just Mahomes is great. Kelsey's great. It doesn't really matter. I feel like that's kind of the offense. I think the number one question looking at this team is who's going to be the wide receiver one. If you look at Juju Smith-Schuster's outputs last season, he averaged 5 receptions a game, 58 yards, 6.3 targets, 16% target share, good for around 12 PPR points per game. Candidates to replace him, Kadarius Toney at ADP 75. Can't stay healthy, can't stop damning fans. He's basically just like a souped-up Mecole Hardman, which is great, but probably great for best ball. He's incredibly explosive when featured, but I just don't see him commanding a huge target share. Skyy Moore, ADP of 108. He barely played as a rookie, but like Toney was efficient and effective when his number was called. Rashee Rice, rookie, ADP 145. Andy Reid doesn't really lean on rookie wide receivers as much, and we learned that Rashee Rice is probably the replacement to Juju, right, long term, but I just don't see Rice playing a lot his rookie year. So as it currently stands at ADP, I think Skyy Moore is the best pick for the Chiefs wide receiver core. You don't have to overpay for Toney. You don't have to ride the Toney roller coaster. I think Skyy Moore is kind of like year 2 breakout written all over him. So he's somebody to target in 108 and underdog drafts that I really like in terms of upside play for Skyy Moore. Aidan,
I'm into Skyy Moore.
You gave yourself the Raiders, which is that's only fair. You gotta eat your vegetables. Tell us about the Las Vegas Raiders in 2023 and round out our last team in our team-by-team previews.
Yeah, there is no better way to end our divisional previews than the Las Vegas Raiders. What an exciting offense.
Raiders.
So I'm really only going to get into the 2 big dogs here. I think that's really all that's worth discussing.
Austin Hooper and Zamir White.
And O.J. Howard.
and O.J. Howard, yes. And I think I'm kind of on the contrary on both of these in terms of like the general public. To start with, I'm fading Davante Adams this year. I'm openly saying I'm fading Davante Adams, and you know, I'm not embarrassed to say it. 3 straight years of being a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. It's not happening again. It's not happening again with Jimmy G playing quarterback. I just don't think Jimmy G has the arm to excel how Davante truly does. You know, those 50-50 balls, you know, outside of the numbers. Like, he'll still get his slants, he'll still get his inside stuff. Like, he's gonna eat to a degree. I've got him as my wide receiver 9, so it's not like a total fade. But I've got ARSB as 8 and Garrett Wilson as my 10. I would take both of those guys in a heartbeat over Devontae Adams personally. I just feel like there's such a higher ceiling and so much. It's such a better just offense and situation that both of them are in. And then again, kind of on the contrary too, give me all the Josh Jacobs shares. And we're saying this take with the assumption that Josh Jacobs plays, because to be honest, he is going to play. Running backs don't have any leverage. Josh Jacobs is going to be wearing silver and black week 1, and he's going to be playing. Coming off of a season with 2,000 all-purpose yards and 12 touchdowns, 50-plus catches 2 years in a row, like, there's no reason to fade Josh Jacobs. Last year, the Raiders were bad. Their offensive line didn't get any better, and he still got his. You know, I know people are scared because of Jimmy. I know people are scared because the line sucks. Josh Jacobs is still going to get his. I know you mentioned Zamir White as a joke. That's his only competition in terms of touches, so I'm not worried about that. Just, I've got him as RB7. I'm pretty high on him right in between JT and Pollard. So I'm buying Josh Jacobs. I'm fading Devontae. If you want anyone else on this offense, knock yourself out. I'm probably not going to do that, but that rounds up our
Jacoby.
Yeah.
That rounds it.
That's our
out.
divisional previews,
Those are our
baby.
team by team previews. That was fucking a great Josh Jacobs rat. I was listening to you like, damn, I need to draft Josh Jacobs. Like, that's good stuff.
Bye, Josh Jacobs.
Before we sign off for our team by team previews, Keegan, anything you need to say to the listeners?
I love you guys.
Okay, so you love them, not football.
No,
this time?
you two.
Oh, you love us.
us.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was a
You
reception
too.
or if it was the people.
Oh, wow.
Nope.
Nice.
This one's for you too.
Thanks, Keegan.
Until next time, everybody.